We've surpassed a pretty important number. More than half of the country now believes that Donald Trump should not only be impeached by the House of Representatives, but also removed by a Senate conviction. Now, I still don't think it's going to happen, but if anything, will make it even a remote possibility. As I've said before, it's if even Republican opinion turns in that direction. I don't believe it'll happen because 62% of Trumpists said there is no way ever that they will abandon Donald Trump. But let's take it one step at a time. We have a new ABC Ipsos poll in which 51% of Americans believe that Donald Trump should be removed from office via impeachment. This is more than half the country. 70% believe that Donald Trump was wrong to pressure the Ukrainian president to launch smear investigations into Joe and Hunter Biden. Now, you might see these numbers and think, well, if 51% of the country wants Trump removed, certainly he will lose re-election in 2020, right? Well, no, because remember, many Americans don't vote. 51%, 60%, even 65% of the country might want Donald Trump removed, but half the country doesn't vote. And if it's more of the people on our side than the people on Trump's side that choose to stay home in November of 2020, he can still easily get reelected, particularly because of the Electoral College system. However, a relevant comparison is that these numbers are more aggressively against Trump than how public opinion saw Richard Nixon at this early stage of the impeachment inquiry during the 1970s. That doesn't bode super well for Donald Trump. Now, in the don't impeach Trump side, there are a few shades of opinion. There are sort of there's some fracturing going on that's important to think about. You've got conservative Republicans who don't think Trump is a good president. They may even think what Donald Trump has done is wrong with Ukraine, emoluments, Yemen, whatever, but they just don't think it rises to the level of warranting impeachment. Okay, that's one sort of group. That's kind of like maybe the National Review position. In fact, Rich Lowry might even have written something like this in the National Review, and it's gotten into my brain somehow, and I don't remember the specifics, but this is what I would guess is sort of like a National Review, Rich Lowry position on impeachment. Then you've got the sort of mildly ignorant Republicans who aren't necessarily big Trump brown-nosers, but they rest easy on talking points like all politicians do bad things, or I'm not really affected by this personally, so I don't care, or the stock market's doing well, or whatever, that they don't really have to think about, wow, maybe I should be thinking about voting for a Democrat in November of 2020. That's like an in-between sort of crowd. And then you have like the real pro-Trump sycophants who can see Trump do no wrong and will defend him no matter what he does. According to a recent poll, that's 62% of Donald Trump supporters who are in the even hypothetically, I can't think of anything Trump could do that would make me question my support for him. So step one is Trump has to be removed, however, voted out, impeachment, as unlikely as that would be. Step two is that a lot of those people who right now have these milquetoast views on Trump, the right wingers who don't like him, but they don't really see him as a big problem, we're going to have to deal with that. And this is why I've been talking for months now, if not longer, about the damage done by Trump will outlast his presidency. Because when Donald Trump is removed or goes away, goes away, ends his second term, is removed after one term, is impeached, whatever the case may be, we are going to see some people take the position of, well, Trump is gone, so the Republican Party is fixed, everything's back to normal, the country's back to normal. Aside from the policy issues and the alliances that have been destroyed and our reputation, which has been a laughingstock for a couple of years, you have to remember that the Republican Party is responsible for the circumstances that got us to a point where Donald Trump was able to win a Republican primary and then a national election in 2016. And they have been unwilling to deal with him and that throughout his presidency. So it will be really important that whenever Donald Trump ultimately leaves office, it has to be made clear that the Republican Party is still as much of a problem as it was in the lead up to Donald Trump becoming president and throughout his presidency. This may be a conversation that is not relevant until January of 2025 if Donald Trump wins re-election. It may be relevant much sooner if Donald Trump loses re-election or even in the unlikeliest of scenarios is removed via impeachment sooner than that. Much like Republicans normalized George W. Bush and now have actually even helped to rehabilitate his image, although Donald Trump has certainly played a role in rehabilitating W's image as well. The same sort of indifferent Republicans who don't love Trump, but they don't see him as a systemic menace. They may be able to rehabilitate their own image if it's not made clear that Trump is the outcome of how they allowed the Republican Party to change over the last many years. It is not merely a blip on the radar. It is the conclusion. It was the end to the means, so to speak, that was the radicalization, de-intellectualization. I know that's not the right word, or maybe even a word, but I think you know what I mean. And cartoonification of the Republican Party over the last many years. And particularly much of that was catalyzed and aggravated by their deep hate of Barack Obama, some of which was racially motivated, and some of which was not. But we will talk about that when the time comes, and the time may be soon. The time may be in January of 2021. It may not be until January 2025. Hopefully that's not the case.